Hello out there, thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Amy Leigh Simpson and my debut novel, When Fall Fades, is now officially out. I hope you're checking it out. In the meantime, I wanted to give you guys a little sneak peek of a really fun scene between the hero and the heroine. I hope you enjoy it. Okay, even with the prompting of her inner monologue, she was helpless to the memory of those entrancing eyes, that slow, rakish grin, and those lips. Ugh, the man was infuriating. Another few laps of this and she'd need to consider seeking professional help. Just as her run started to produce a euphoric calm over her mind, she saw him. Not in her mind like a few minutes ago, but with her eyes. Agent Hayes was here, near the playground, talking with Barb, a woman who often brought her grandkids to the park in the morning to play. He was probably checking on her alibi, but his presence was disruptive and irritating. Had Barb been here that morning? Guess she'd have to find out soon enough. The path would soon dump her at the playground, occupied by the man who was currently terrorizing her brain. It was nothing but attraction, a chemical response. He was undeniably good-looking. So what? It was nothing she couldn't handle. Oh geez, she'd been spotted. Her tormentor raised his hand in a stagnant wave, and she was stuck. Aside from a blatant turn-tail-and-run maneuver, there was no escaping the inevitable. She stepped toward the path and slowed her pace and walked the last few paces to meet him. "Morning, Agent Hayes." She forced the pleasantry from tight lips. "Morning, Miss Carson." His eyes scanned her. She shifted her weight, trying not to squirm under the heated look that made the Midwest summer seem practically tepid in comparison. "I thought you'd like to know you've been cleared. Autopsy confirmed the killer was male, and Mrs. Schroeder saw you here during the time the ME said the body was placed in the car." "Well, I already knew that. Shouldn't you be doing something more useful with your time, like pulling those records of Charlie's phone calls, or, I don't know, looking at a suspect who might actually be dangerous?" Okay, so maybe tactlessness was an inherited flaw. Her conscience kicked in to make up for it, and guilt instantly followed. He was just doing his job, but she'd been trying to get him out of her head all morning, and now here he stood, in all of his big, brooding manliness, interrupting her time of solace. "Oh, I think you're plenty dangerous." His eyes darkened to milk chocolate, as if the man needed to look any tastier. "This is generally considered good news, you know, when an alibi proves your innocence. You're lucky we were able to rule you out so quickly, given your rather isolated nature. I thought you'd be relieved and, I don't know, grateful." A muscle flexed in the hard edge of his jaw. "Excuse me, what do you mean my isolated nature? 2 days and suddenly you know me?" Guilt be gone, Sadie was now blazing mad. Taking an emboldened step toward him, she jabbed him in the chest with her finger. A very strong, very firm chest that about snapped her finger in half. "I was actually about to apologize for my attitude, but now you can forget it." "Oh, really?" He stepped forward and met her challenge. "I guess one day I should be so lucky to be on the receiving end of your more gracious side. What is it with you, emotional Russian roulette? You need somebody to be your punching bag today, Sadie, because I can take a lot more than you can dish out, so bring it on." Time suspended between them. The heat from their proximity was suddenly stifling, and the only thing she could think about. Merely an inch apart, the air grew thick and heady, but they both stood their ground, searching each other's eyes in a post-war stare-down. Sadie's lips parted as she drew in a shaky breath. She saw it happen in slow motion, his gaze flickering, honing in on her mouth. Swallowing down the knot in her throat, every ounce of moisture wicked away. She wasn't aware that she'd licked her lips until the warmth of his breath swept over them. A clean, musky scent of soap and something else she couldn't pinpoint, something raw and primitive, had her senses reeling. Her body swayed, his chin tipped down, and the sound of a dog barking jolted her out of the trance. The movement was so overreacted, so jarring, she lost her balance, tweaking her ankle on a precariously placed pebble, and fell into him. "Oomph!" She hit his chest with an ungraceful thud. Oh, sweet mercy, his scent on contact was better than brownie batter. Lifting her hands to push away, she realized a little too late that she'd actually grabbed his pecs. Actually grabbed. Holy mackerel, she just felt him up. Her cheeks burned, and her hands unlatched from where she'd unintentionally fondled him. She was positively mortified. She couldn't look at him, became riveted with the sight of her hot pink and gray running shoes, and instructed her wobbly legs to take a large step back. Nothing happened. No reason to be embarrassed. It was a reflex. Accidental boob graze happens all the time. After the brief, silent pep talk, she managed to look up. She met his intense, unreadable gaze, but had no words to wield, internal or otherwise. "I'll be at Charlie's for a while, if you feel like apologizing." His words were matter-of-fact, and she wasn't quite sure what to make of them. Though she had a feeling the aforementioned apology had little to nothing to do with his impressive pecs, or the almost kiss, she winced. He turned and walked away, leaving her to watch his retreat and ponder what in the heck had just happened. All right, thanks so much for tuning in, guys. Hope you have a great day, and check out the book. I'd love to hear your thoughts.